Welcome back to the Blister and Muck podcast. I'm Jenny Mason, your host and the creator of the Blister and Muck series. This week, Blister's running away with his imagination. Why does he look so good? I guess because he's dashing? This is not the first time Blister has been carried away by false ideas. Clearly, he suffers from concentration lapse. He's a regular juggernaut. How about a basic rundown of the situation? Just a quick tour of his mental landscape. What you might call a geography lesson. In short, the more Blister imagines Muck leaving for Europe, the more he skews his decision-making. Is Muck going to Europe? Not anytime soon, because he doesn't even know he's been summoned there. Nonetheless, Blister tries and tries to prevent an outcome that may only be the product of his wild imagination. What he imagines may never come to pass. Have you ever run away with your imagination? For instance, maybe one night in bed, you hear a strange, thuddy, scrapey sound in your room. You instantly imagine a creature under your bed or in that back corner of your closet. And it's the worst kind of monster clown alien werewolf creature, too. By dint of holding your breath and keeping perfectly still, you escape the creature's notice that night. But thereafter, whenever nighttime creeps into your room, you know that the creature is watching, and it's waiting for you to go to bed, because as soon as you fall asleep, and so you set traps around your room to either warn you that the creature is on the move, or else fumble its attempt to snare you. That's what happens when we get carried away with our imagination. First, we envision a thing or a possible event that might occur. The vision seems so real and so factual, even though it absolutely does not exist and has not ever happened. And as a result, we begin to alter our daily lives and make odd decisions to affect that imagined thing. Imagination is powerful. It is a magical factory capable of producing anything in any quantity. And even though it deals in all things unreal, imagination has the strength to influence our behaviors in the real world. Besides stoking our fears, imagination also manifests great works of art. Symphonies, sculptures, paintings, books, jokes, songs, games, fashion, dancing. All these delightful creations arise from imagination. So where do we get this superpower that is the imagination? Researchers have yet to fully pin down how the human mind imagines, but they do know that whenever we see something in the real world, let's say a pineapple, the brain fires up its electrical thinking spiders, also known as neurons, which gather and store details about that pineapple. Spiky, fruit, brown outside, yellow inside, tangy flavor. The next time you see or think of a pineapple, those same neurons for spiky, fruit, brown, yellow, tangy light up again. Essentially, your brain creates a distinct lightning bolt that flashes only for pineapples. It creates an entirely different bolt for an apple, a horse, a car, your car, a coffee mug, a coffee bean, a football, a key, and so on. Each little lightning bolt is unique, like how snowflakes are unique. You've heard the saying that no two snowflakes are alike. The same goes for the brain's lightning bolts, snowing bolts, lightning flakes, whatever. When we imagine something new, something we've never actually seen or experienced, scientists theorize that the brain splices these snowflake bolts. Special fibers that stretch across the brain alter the flow of electrical signals so that the brain can combine its lightning bolt for a horse with its lightning bolt for a surfboard. And voila, you can imagine surfing horses. Now that's what I call marine life. Gnarly, bro. Here's the real kicker. Those electrical relay fibers rely on a special tissue called myelin. Every additional layer of myelin enables the brain to mix and match infinite lightning bolts. That means you can imagine quicker, better, and in more elaborate detail. When we are young children, our brains are producing the most layers of myelin. That means if you spend lots of time in your childhood wildly imagining lots of things, then you'll grow up with hundreds of layers of myelin on your imagination fibers. If you don't invest time working your imagination, then your myelin layers will be more threadbare. As a child, Albert Einstein spent most days building up his myelin muscles. He credited his genius breakthroughs in science to his creative imagination. Because of his massive imagination, his ability to mix and match snowflake brain bolts, Einstein comprehended the invisible fabric of reality. Thank goodness Einstein put his imagination to work rather than running away with it. Imagine if he'd spent all his time outwitting imaginary closet monsters. Episode 2. Hemmed In. At first, surveillance of the factory exposed nothing of interest. No one ever entered it. No one ever exited from it either. The opeRATives fretted in their daily debriefings. Maybe they were watching the wrong factory. Maybe the electric security system preventing their entry had been installed when the factory was still operational, and it had never been switched off. Maybe they had already missed Dr. Van Sangfreud's top-secret meeting. At one point, Puss insisted they abandon watching the factory altogether and resume chasing the delivery trucks. "Didn't your grandratty tell you about the pay of patience?" Blister jibed. Madame Putresca headed off a squabble between them when she decreed they would spy on the factory for one more day. Late on that last day, smoke tangled out of the factory smokestacks. The lowering sun dressed the crooked streets and alleys in gray shadow veils embroidered with cold. Pairs of opeRATives sat in wood-slat vegetable crates, which they'd placed near the front, back, and side entrances. Given all the rubbish and loose flyers and newspaper pages strewn along the street, the slime-stained crates blended in as just more trash. Therein the rats hid from sight while monitoring the factory, plus the surrounding sidewalks and streets. Blister and Puss occupied a crate stationed at the east entrance. Muck and Ooze watched them from a storm drain across the street. Horchata and Seltzer meandered the sidewalk, pecking now and then to look like regular pigeons. Blister was supposed to monitor the doors. Instead, he gawked at the way Puss shut his eyes and brushed his whiskers across the red brick wall. Blister asked, "What are you doing?" Puss popped open one eye and glared. "I'm feeling for movement inside." "You look ready to kiss a brick." It might interest you to know that your ears can hear a fly sneeze around the block, but your whiskers can sense a gnat fart from across town. That is, if'n you train yourself to use 'em properly." "Fascinatin'," Blister drawled. "I didn't know rats were equipped to be such experts on gnat flatulence." He knew Muck would have melted into a fit of giggles had he heard that remark. Puss ordered Blister to mind his post. As Blister did so, he puffed warm air into his paws and rubbed them together. The shadows darkened. The chill hardened. The escaped panther leaflets rose and fell on the breeze like paper frigate birds. The electric streetlights woke and dotted the lavender gloaming. Eventually, steam whistles hooted and howled. Doors on the neighboring factories squealed open, and the workers poured out. Their red faces glistened with sweat. Most were men, but some were women and children. Through the gap, Blister saw a woman wearing a suffragist ribbon. On her high heels, she talked along the crowded sidewalk. As she neared the east entrance, she abruptly wobbled on her heels. She crouched as if to adjust the laces on her shoes, but she never touched them. Instead, her attention bounced from the condemned factory's doors to the street lamps. "Hey, brick kisser," Blister hissed at Puss. "Take a look at this." Puss peeked through the gap. After a moment, all the streetlights flickered and shut off. The trudging workers stopped in their tracks. "What the devil?" said one. "Power's out! Listen!" shouted another. The crowds did indeed listen. The mighty hum and growl of the massive automated machinery inside the factories had hushed. This fact roused many to rush back in the brick fortresses in a panic over the mechanisms that might break if they stopped so abruptly. Meanwhile, the suffragist determined no one paid her any attention. She extracted a key from her boot and stabbed the padlock. Then she unlaced the chains, pulled one door ajar, and snuck inside the condemned factory. "Did you see that?" Horchata whispered as she pecked near the crate. "Well, I'll be," Puss marveled. "What about the electric security system?" "Must have been switched off with the power outage," Blister supposed. A short interval of time passed before the street lamps blinked on and splashed away the twilight. Routine returned to the streets. The next shift of workers slogged into the factories to replace those who were leaving. The two groups waved at one another with grease-creased hands. Some exchanged pleasant greetings or jokes, but none of the workers commented on the missing suffragist. "That blackout was nae accident," Seltzer said. Puss signaled across the street to Ooze, who indicated she and Muck had also seen the woman enter the factory. Soon after, a pair of suffragists scurried arm in arm toward the east entrance. Several paces from the door, one of them pulled out a handkerchief and sneezed 3 times. The door opened and the two women disappeared inside the factory. After that, a regular supply approached, signaled, and entered. Seltzer and Horchata pecked at nothing near the crate. Seltzer whispered, "I'd say this secret meeting is about to transpire." "I say we hitch a ride in there," Blister said. He wondered how many points he might score against Europe if Muck saw him arise as the hero who halted the imposter Van Sangfreud schemes. A heroic Blister could not only show Muck that telegram, but also convince him to tear it up and forget all about it. The notion, once in his head, acted like a spring, driving all his cogs and gears. "I am in charge, and there is a protocol for this," Puss complained. "We do not go in. I repeat, we do not go in. Seltzer and Horchata need to report this to the opeRATives at the other entrances. Find out if they're seeing a similar influx. Next, we have to tell Muck and Ooze to book it through the sewers and get a message to Madame Putresca. Then we wait for her instructions for what comes next." Blister grumbled.
Wait. Wait for what? You know what she'll say. Be getting in there.
"We follow the protocol."
Dung in the gutter.
Blister groaned.
Putresca is not here to assess the situation on the ground. She can't see what we're seeing. By the time we hear back, we might have missed our best and only chance to get inside.
"We follow the protocol," Puss repeated.
"Want me to fly a message to Madame Putresca?"
Horchata asked.
"I can get there and back faster."
Look,
Blister hopped.
here come 2 more suffragists. Their bustles are loaded with bows. We can both hitch a ride. We just have
Blister, I order you to go report the situation to the B squad watching the west door. Find out if other suffragists have been accessing the building through that entrance.
Puss, this is ridiculous.
Seltzer, Horchata, go alert C and D squads.
They're almost here. If we hurry,
All of you will report back to me. Once we have a full report, we'll send word to Madame Putresca. Now get. The pigeons fluttered away. Blister tucked his fists into his elbows and glared at Puss. Outside the vegetable crate, the door grunted open. "That's an order, opeRATive. I said get." Puss pointed. Blister grinned as he saluted Puss.
Aye, aye, Captain.
He shot out of the crate and caught the hem of a skirt just as the big door woofed shut. Well, it finally happened. Blister's inability to function on a team has finally been addressed. Now he's in that factory alone, without any backup from the opeRATives. And who knows what kind of treacherous plans Dr. Van Sangfreud and Mrs. Chettingley have in store for all those suffragists. Perhaps we're being too hard on Blister. After all, sneaking in on a belt would have been a bigger waste of time. Maybe we should cut him some slacks. Let's not be so clothes-minded. Tune in next week to find out if Blister busts Dr. Van Sangfreud. Of course, if he does, I suppose it's case closed. In the meantime, stop by blisterandmuck.com and use the contact form to tell me what you think will happen next. Have you ever run away with your imagination? Tell us what that was like, or how you booby-trapped the monsters under your bed. If you share any jog jokes, sprint jokes, or other running gags, I'll share them on the show. Maybe not all in one go. This humor is best when it's more random. Would you like Blister and Muck to visit your school? Simply ask your teacher, pretty please, with a cherry on top, to email the show at contact@blisterandmuck.com. You'll never miss an episode when you tap or click the subscribe bubble. You'll get an email alert as soon as the latest hijinks releases. The Blister and Muck podcast is made possible because listeners like you support the show. Tell your friends and the people parked near you in the freeway traffic jam to listen along. Or you can be more imaginative and tell others about the show by sporting your very own Blister and Muck shirt, hat, or face mask. Visit the Support the Show page at blisterandmuck.com and browse the online store. A portion of your purchase helps keep this show on the air, and when you open the shipping bag containing your tote bag or sweatshirt, you'll find a special thank you card with a link to a secret page at blisterandmuck.com. Enter the password on that thank you card, and you'll hear a special message from the entire Blister and Muck gang. Special thanks to composer Roland Rudzitis for serving up the Blister and Muck theme song. Additional music from D. Yankee, Kevin MacLeod, Komiku, and Mon Plaisir. Mike Koenig fizzled the electricity. Other sounds from the public domain at freesound.org. I can't imagine doing this show without support from my family, friends, and fans. One for one, and all for you.